You're under oath. Those 3 words should make anyone tell the truth. But when Congressman Dan Goldman pressed Trump's Justice Department about the Epstein files they promised to release, something extraordinary happened. After months of demanding transparency, after Pam Bondi claimed the files were on her desk ready for release, suddenly, there's nothing to see here. What changed? Goldman just connected the dots in real time.
And here we are again, La La Land and Homeland Security Committee, conducting oversight of the president and his administration. Great, because there are many, many things that Congress should be conducting oversight over this administration. Donald Trump campaigned on finding convicted criminals who are unlawfully here in this country and deporting them. The worst of the worst, he said. Instead, he and his unidentified masked secret ICE agents are snatching and arresting immigrants from court proceedings, nonviolent, non-criminal immigrants pursuing legal pathways to immigrate to this country, and then illegally detaining them in horrific conditions, and even possibly deporting them despite the fact that they are here legally. You would think the committee, with jurisdiction over the Department of Homeland Security, would want to conduct oversight over the department's refusal to allow members of Congress to observe the conditions of DHS detention facilities. In fact, there is a specific statute that authorizes both Republicans and Democrats to conduct oversight over facilities that house or detain immigrants. But no, the department refuses. So we're here in the Homeland Security Committee, and I'm sure the Republican majority does not like it when this administration undermines its own authority, its own statutory authority, to conduct oversight. But no, instead of all of that, we are here talking yet again about Joe Biden. Newsflash, Joe Biden is not the president. He hasn't been the president for 7 months. So if we are going to conduct oversight here, why are we doing it about the Biden administration when this administration is literally detaining lawful permanent residents and even some U.S. citizens? And it gets worse. It's not just those masked ICE agents. There are many FBI agents who are being called away from their duties to investigate terrorism, violent gangs, child trafficking, and other crimes in order to help ICE arrest and detain immigrants with legal asylum claims, nonviolent. That makes our homeland less safe, not more safe. So we should hear from FBI Director Kash Patel about how many of his criminal investigators are being taken away from their criminal investigatory jobs, keeping Americans safe in order to help round up non-criminal immigrants trying to immigrate the right way. Some of these detainees are being held in Bureau of Prisons detention centers that are unfit for convicted criminals to stay in. We should hear from Pam Bondi about how much of the department's resources are being used to detain these nonviolent, non-criminal immigration detainees. And while they're here, we can ask them about a very pressing question. What's going on with the Epstein files? Donald Trump promised to release them. Pam Bondi said she had the files on her desk and that she was going to release them in the name of transparency. Kash Patel has spent years railing against the FBI to release the files. Many of my Republican colleagues were banging on the table to release the Epstein files. But now, all of a sudden, after a months-long review, Bondi and Patel say nothing to see here, no evidence that any American would want to see about accomplices, co-conspirators, or other people involved. Yesterday, the Republicans voted against releasing the files. So what's changed? Well, we all know Donald Trump has had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He flew on his plane, he hung out at parties, spoke highly of him. And now there are many people saying that Donald Trump is included in the Epstein files. In fact, there are reporters who say that there are videos of him with topless women. Elon Musk even confirmed that Trump is blocking the release of these files because he's in them. Pam Bondi says there's nothing there, but Donald Trump even acknowledges that there is evidence there. It's just not credible. It's made up. This is a Truth Social post from 9:43 this morning. It is an admission that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and the American people deserve to know whether he is or not.
Mr. Garbarino,
Mr. Chairman, I would, pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11.
Gentleman is not recognized. Your time has expired.
I have a motion.
Mr. Garbarino,
Mr. Chairman.
recognized for questioning.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman has a motion.
Pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11, I move that the committee subpoena Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States, and Kash Patel, the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Mr. Chairman, motion to table.
Gentleman has a motion.
Motion to table.
Motion to table is privileged and non-debatable.
What Congressman Goldman did in that committee room wasn't just political theater. It was a masterclass in exposing how institutions bend when power decides transparency is inconvenient. Goldman methodically laid out a pattern that should alarm anyone who believes promises from government officials matter, especially when those promises involve accountability for the powerful. Start with the basic facts. During confirmation hearings, both Pam Bondi and Kash Patel made public commitments about the Epstein files. Bondi claimed the files were literally on her desk, ready for release in the name of transparency. Patel, who spent years criticizing the FBI for withholding these documents, positioned himself as someone who would finally deliver answers. Republican committee members repeatedly demanded these files be made public. The message was clear: this administration would be different, more transparent, more accountable. Then came the reversal. After what they called a month-long review, the same officials who promised transparency suddenly found nothing worth releasing. No evidence of accomplices, co-conspirators, or other involved parties that the American people would want to see. The same Republicans who banged tables demanding release voted against it. Goldman's question is simple but devastating. What changed? The answer lies in understanding how institutional capture works. When officials make promises during confirmation hearings, they're speaking Congress and the public, but once in office, they're answerable to the person who appointed them. If that person has a personal interest in keeping certain information buried, institutional independence becomes a luxury officials can't afford if they want to keep their jobs. Goldman connected this to a broader pattern of misplaced priorities. While the Justice Department claims there's nothing significant in the Epstein files, it's simultaneously pulling FBI agents away from investigating terrorism, violent gangs, and child trafficking to help ICE attain nonviolent immigrants with legal asylum claims. The irony is stark. Resources that could be investigating actual crimes against children are being redirected to immigration enforcement, while files that might reveal crimes against children remain sealed. This creates what Goldman identified as a credibility crisis. When Bondi says there's nothing there in the Epstein files, but Trump himself admits there is evidence there, just that it's not credible or made up, the public faces an impossible choice. Either the Attorney General is lying about what's in the files, or the President is admitting to fabricated evidence about himself. Neither option builds confidence in the justice system. The procedural gymnastics at the end of Goldman's remarks tell their own story. When he tried to make a motion, likely to compel release of the files or testimony from officials, it was immediately tabled. The motion to table is privileged and non-debatable, meaning it can shut down discussion without allowing argument. It's a parliamentary tool that protects the majority from having to go on record about uncomfortable topics. What Goldman exposed is how accountability breaks down in practice. Officials make promises when they need confirmation votes, then cite new information or changed circumstances to justify breaking those promises. When pressed, they use procedural tools to avoid debate. The result is a system where transparency becomes optional and public trust becomes expendable. The real damage isn't just to this specific case. It's to the principle that official promises matter, and that Congress can hold the executive branch accountable. When officials can simply declare nothing to see here after promising transparency, oversight becomes theater and confirmation hearings become meaningless rituals. This is exactly why Goldman's methodical approach matters. He didn't just complain about broken promises. He laid out the pattern, connected it to resource misallocation, and forced officials to choose between contradicting their earlier statements or contradicting their current boss. Either choice damages their credibility and exposes the system's dysfunction. If we care about accountability, these moments require attention, not dismissal. When officials break clear public commitments, especially about transparency, the consequences should be institutional, not just political. Goldman's questions weren't just about Epstein files, they were about whether promises to Congress and the public still mean anything at all.